Hollywood's getting lazy, and has been for some time now. Almost any fan can tell you that adaptations are a risky game. Sometimes they work, sometimes they're a flop.
It's time for you to stop doing this!
The Avatar would have to be an airbender. Are you an airbender, boy?
Been insane.
Dreamville and the Bible tells us there's nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun. Nobody.
And nowhere is that more true than in our modern day Hollywood. Based on 2025 box office data, 9 out of the 10 highest grossing movies last year were sequels, prequels,
So, Mufasa, I see your family.
remakes, or based on existing intellectual property.
Stay. Here.
With Brad Pitt's F1 being the only top 10 entry not.
Hope it's not a strategy.
Anything else, Professor?
Try fast.
But even that's relying heavily on the international Formula One brand. Nobody gets screwed over quite as much by the adaptation machine as the animated industry. Whether it be Japanese anime or Western animation alike, live action adaptations rarely work.
The lesson is over.
Especially when it's of a serialized TV show. There's no doubt that Avatar... Nah, not that one. Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened. Kind of. Avatar: The Last Airbender has cemented itself into the pop cultural hall of fame as one of the most iconic animated TV shows of all time. With the second season of its live-action Netflix series about to release on the 25th of June,
This is my fight.
I know I'm not the only one reminiscing on Team Avatar and the original animated show from the late 2000s. Live-action anime and anime adaptations, either feature-length films or serialized programming, have had a bad rep for a while now. Whether it be poor CGI or controversial casting choices, which we'll get into. Anime's anticipated transition into real life has been met, and probably will continue to be met, with disappointment. Which is kinda unfortunate since anime has proven itself to not only be highly imaginative, but also extremely profitable for decades now.
Jet Black, meet Faye Valentine.
Hey, you. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. We got it on the wrong foot.
With an already established audience base, storylines, and characters tested in their original animated form, it makes you wonder, why are live-action animation adaptations usually trash?
You need to shut the f up.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, or ATLA, if you didn't already know. By the way, how the fuck takes place in a world where 4 nations are divided by the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. Our story follows Aang, the air nomad, forced into the role as the Avatar, the master of all 4 elements, embarking on a quest to restore balance in a world ransacked by the Fire Nation's full frontal takeover. An electrifying tale of Odyssean adventure, familial redemption, camaraderie, integrity, mercy, and most of all, power. An IP so beloved to where the narrative was given a canon comic book series,
Please listen. You think you're so tough?
live action film, which may or may not have existed depending on mood,
We arrived.
prequel graphic novel series, not to mention its sequel TV shows released or unreleased.
I miss you too.
Ergo, The Legend of Korra, and the upcoming Avatar 7 Havens, after the conclusion of the show. Oh yeah, there's also Legend of Aang. I'ma leave that there. The live-action Netflix series adaptation, keeping the namesake of the animated original, did add a new spin on the characters and builds upon re-established storylines within the franchise. And I will give writers credit for respecting the source material enough to fully flesh out all the key narratives and relationships between Aang, Zuko, and Iroh, continuing to be the most compelling sides of the show, giving the audience a deeper take on the major overarching themes I mentioned before. On the other hand, the live action suffers in many areas simply due to the medium it's in. Nickelodeon's Avatar: The Last Airbender had a 20-episode long first season, whereas the Netflix adaptation squeezes most of that plot into 8. I'll give it 47 to 63 minute long episodes, but 8 nonetheless. Hardly enough to cover all the minute details of the story covered by the animated show. Which is why many longtime fans have expressed indifference towards live action, arguing in line with many of our other live action adaptations that the remake just lost the spark of the original. If this upcoming second season follows the pace of the first, that would mean up to 4 episodes on average assembled into a single one, with literally hundreds of plot points to hit. It might have been safer to write a brand new story, but even those don't hit.
Wow, those are some real pretty words there, cowboy. Does that shit work on all the girls?
Can I help you?
Yeah, you can kindly f off. It's something personal, but your mark's coming with
Elegant transition from one mode of expression to another has always been challenging. By translating a work of art, understandably, you have to prioritize the essential elements of the original work, sacrificing other parts to better suit the new format. Showrunners for Netflix's Last Airbender live-action adaptation has long referred to itself as a remix, not a cover, if you will, of the original animated series. What else would you call it?
Chemistry from shooting season 1.
Cover and adaptation both imply a certain degree of loyalty to the source material, while also promising some changes. But Netflix added a house beat, new vocals, altered the pitch, and dropped on SoundCloud for free. I will give it, they can't just redo everything the same way, since that's just asking the tank at the box office.
That's his fault.
Adapting a long-form traditional television series into a modern-day, no more than 10-episode Netflix drop will only in rare cases do the material justice. Hand-me-down writers need to compress a large amount of story into a short amount of time in order for the audience to digest and be entertained, all while having their own preconceived notions.
Impossible.
A hard bargain, but when done right, brings in a big bag. Though, from shifting plot points or rewriting them altogether to complete backstory reshuffling that quite frankly makes many of the later arcs meaningless. Rarely does it work in producers' favor.
A little magic moment just before you start.
One of those being the prologue, where viewers are now shown the full air nomad slaughtering. Like the animated show, it's set during the passing of Sozin's comet. And it's revealed to Aang during so of his role as the Avatar. Unlike the cartoon, where his identity was revealed to him a long time before this canon event, such a small change might seem irrelevant to most fans, though like reality, minor modifications often create a butterfly effect, impacting everything from plot logistics to crucial character building later on.
Every time I walk to set, my jaw is on the floor.
The assumption is, like most other live-action fiascos, usually the backstory is changed so writers can feel different and culture-inducing. But then this causes scenes later on, around the climax and resolution, to have no build-up, and so they gotta add on more. But attempting to add to a story that's been closed and done for almost 2 decades now, especially with new writers on a new platform, these additions tend to feel like parodies of the original sprinkled about. To where season 1 of the Avatar The Last Airbender live action even straight up changed the manner of Aang's disappearance, the literal foundation of the entire franchise. In our beloved animated series, Aang runs away from the Southern Air Temple after overhearing that the Council of Elders plan to separate him from his mentor Mong Gyatso, believing that he's impeding our protagonist's Avatar journey. As we all know, a storm catches Aang shortly after, and he's inadvertently trapped within the sphere of ice for said millennium, vanishing from the world. But in the remake, Aang stood on business and didn't run from his duties. Instead, he flew out on Appa to clear his head. An interesting shift which can be considered a variation, keeping the guilt for his disappearance intact, though much of the agency of this incident is taken away, and makes the whole ordeal feel like a case of dumb luck, rather than exemplifying our protagonist's immaturity and unreadiness to take on the roles of the Avatar. His decision to run away in the animated series haunts Aang for a good portion of the narrative and leads to the inevitable growth later on.
You must defeat the Fire Lord.
But in the live action, he's somewhat alleviated from his guilt. The audience is kind of left with Aang's just that guy. Not a fully fleshed out, multifaceted character with room for development. Hio and Theo, Katara's actress for the live action, even said herself, in the original, she catches on like really quickly. In my eyes, it's like, how would she even know what movements to do? So I brought that to the beginning. She doesn't even know what she's doing at all. Logically, this makes sense. Someone picking up a new skill is gonna struggle with form. But again, this alteration takes away from what made Katara her. In the animated series, she has a strong natural affinity for waterbending, without any prior instruction. Taking a more realistic approach for her bending is fine, but when it ripples and negates key moments in the plot later on, you start to wonder, were these minor changes worth it? Originally, with Katara's predisposition, she learns waterbending alongside Aang, and even gives pointers here and there to the Avatar. However, in the first season of the live action, waterbending is Katara's sole domain. And even though having the waterbending arcs of the story focused on her makes sense, much of the bonding that took place between Aang and Katara...
Learn how to fight? Study closely.
in the original first book were from their training sessions.
Someone needs to slap some sense into that guy.
So unless Season 2 slams it out the park and fully fleshes out many of the later moments, Katang is never happening. Similar to the nauseating live-action Avatar The Last Airbender movie,
That child is being arrested.
For what?
He was bending tiny stones at us from behind a tree. It really hurt.
by none other than M. Night Split Decision Shyamalan.
Wait. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. He can't handle reality.
Having to expedite the entirety of Book 1 and all of its storylines, character development, both main and side characters, and lore in order for the largest possible demographic to understand and enjoy the franchise, regardless of prior knowledge, is evidently going to sacrifice pace and depth in return for stakeholder checklist completion. Bars.
I warned you. No one's going to stand in my way.
You wanted to know about the power of the Avatar.
There's an inherent problem with adapting a story told in one medium to another.
Paddle harder.
I'm trying. Oh my god.
Yes, the allure will always be there for fans, though execution in most cases fizzle out a majority of the enticement for the remake.
Yeah, he's coming down on that mountain.
The way a story unfolds in a traditional TV show is completely different to how that same story would be told in a Netflix series.
Oh my god.
Looking for someone?
Take the original Avatar The Last Airbender, which has a total runtime of about 1,464 minutes, or a little over 24 hours, where every single episode is crucial to the understanding of the show. Even though the first season has a runtime of about 470 minutes, which is on par with the live action that has a total runtime of about 430 to 480 minutes, depending on whether you include ending credits or opening themes.
Oh, okay.
Both around 8 hours of runtime for its pilot season. Though, when the general structure of the plot is kept, combining all of the intricate plot details of 3 episodes into one becomes extremely noticeable. Every major target in the plot is covered, allowing time to even insert added scenes not in the source material. Though, this meant we're only given the individual pieces of each original episode in broad strokes, taking away significantly from the depth of the storyline, not to mention the characterization of major secondary characters like Jet.
I'm tired of waiting. These two...
Suki,
Of course.
Let's see if you can handle this!
or King Boomy.
Firepower, and it's payback time!
All 3 aren't given nearly enough time on screen to be fully fleshed out, and these modifications to their backstories made to abide by the show's exceedingly fast pace ended up making each of them lose out on vital aspects of themselves.
I have reference to.
Hey, buddy!
Falling short of the thematic significance that they had brought in the original show.
Show them what you can do.
Live-action adaptations also take out many of the fundamental elements of an animated IP that radically alters the tonality without creators even noticing.
People's lives in your hands. Personally, I take that responsibility very seriously. I'm the guardian of my village too.
As it's played by real actors, many of the over-the-top humor and comedic effect is lost to higher quality and graphical improvements.
We've avoided a lot of things by living the way we do.
A commonly used trope in anime would be the comedic interruption of the standard animation with a kawaii version, if you will. The trope creates a clear contrast between the comedy and the drama of the show.
Say something to her.
Look, spoiled brat. Shut up and get lost, or pay the price.
That's it, yeah!
Take Full Metal Alchemist, who's known to incorporate this trope time after time.
Something bad?
No, it's more like awful.
Yes, the tonal contrast can be unexpected, especially for anime newcomers,
Well, it was definitely weird.
but the drastic difference succeeds in context, elevating the plot. Not only is the audience endeared by the character's vulnerability, it also raises the stakes for later action. Even Avatar, a Western animated show, uses the trope with Aang or Sokka. But with real actors, even if writers wanted to incorporate such tropes, it just wouldn't come out right. Though some adaptations still attempt to recreate these moments, keeping the tone of the dialogue while not delivering the contextual visual component.
これライブじゃないっすよね。
エルには全てお見通し。
松田さん、鼻水はちゃんと拭いてください。
もういいですよ!
This maturity backfires especially when it comes to Aang's dialogue in the live action, often now offering wise words and reassurance to other characters.
Show off.
What? I was just enjoying the dip.
Which seems out of character for our jovial air nomad in the cartoon.
Isn't it, Boomy?
I need to talk to you!
It's good to see you too!
Many fans point out that this personality really doesn't match that of a 12-year-old who's still struggling to accept his role in the world.
This much you have to learn. And believe it or not,
With Sokka's character having heavily relied on comedic relief in the animated show,
The Fire Lord is Aang's fight. Airship slice!
our Water Tribe warrior now undeniably is lacking in character.
Combat and hunting and hunting. Yeah, hunting.
Maybe just as important are that live actions change the voice of the characters. Decades have passed and voice actors may not be up for an acting role. But try to imagine a Mufasa without the voice of James Earl Jones. You can't. The voice of an animated character is the fastest way of recognizing them. It's literally embedded into the character, not to mention the brains of fans, adding a depth that can't be easily forgotten. A character's voice is as much a part of them as their design, which is why many times when animated shows must change casts for whatever reason, the outcome most of the time ain't pretty. Unless you're Rick and Morty.
Real nice, Rick. Turning our son into an Akira? Real nice.
Eat my ass, Jerry! He turned himself into Akira!
Oh, I'll eat it, because this is my house, Rick. I'll eat any ass I want.
But even then, season 7.
Nobody chokes me without consent!
Live-action adaptations often fail because they lose the artistic magic, emotional depth, and exaggerated physics of the original animated source material. Attempting to ground fantastic stories in realistic constraints, animation isn't limited by the same reality constraints that hold back live action. Animators can do much more with characters as well as stories, especially when it comes to absurdism. Many jokes and plot points don't necessarily translate well into a 3D space.
Sorry, I messed up.
No matter how badly fans want them to. Take 2019's The Lion King. the photorealistic adaptation of our 1994 Disney classic. Runs into many of the same problems. A 2D animated lion who can sing and dance as Simba does in the original. Yeah, hate to break it to you, real lions can't do any of that. Real lions don't even actually smile. They just blink. And nowhere near the amount of wide-ranging facial emotions our protagonist had in the original. Therefore, the 3D lions felt a little lifeless, since a real lion cub just can't convey the same emotional weight that an animated CGI one can. Yes, even in '94 there was CGI.
The moment I laid eyes on it, I could feel destiny calling.
The auto-tune of the movie industry.
It's always that we want to be integrated because we have such epic exteriors.
One of the major hurdles for these adaptations are the special effects chosen to be incorporated or not. Most of the animated IPs that are adapted originate from action-oriented content, heavily relying on action set pieces and spectacle that accompany each episode. Therefore, live-action creators' best friends end up being computer graphics and CGI, which is one issue for AAA studios where they run into boredom from fans. While other smaller studios, this becomes another monster in and of itself. Where your budget ain't where it needs to be, CGI doesn't automatically create beautiful moments. Some digital effects even charter the uncanny valley. Taking audiences straight out of any possibility of immersion. Take Shusuke Kaneko's Death Note from 2006. Though the plot nowhere near as horrific as its 2017's Netflix counterpart, most likely due to budgetary constraints, each scene where Shinigami appear, immersion inevitably fell. For bigger studios, though, resource attainment isn't the issue to create stunning visuals. With the number of stakeholders involved, there's no chance enough risk will be taken to embrace the original source material entirely, ergo limiting the full potential of the work. And I get it, Hollywood at the end of the day is a business, and financial motives will always be at the heart of projects. But when has playing it safe ever brought in the bottom dollar?
The one who will restore balance to the world. The one who will restore my close-up to its former glory.
Or a strong reputation, especially when you've already spent millions of dollars buying out an IP. Many a times, directors and producers, whether due to pushback from studios or their own personal creative choices, generally seem to lack an understanding of what made the original work interesting. Yes, there are those diamonds in the rough that exemplify themselves from the rest. Most of the time, the incentives are different. Some creators only look at the visual aspects of the original and blatantly ignore the story. Some see character actions, but not the equivocal motivation that comes with each, while others just rewrite the story altogether, relying on their own prowess and disrespecting what came before in the process. Avatar: The Last Airbender, from merely synopsis, is fairly straightforward. A messiah-esque figure returns to the world after a century of unrest, and must learn to wield his powers in order to stop a tyrannic resistance. But this sped-up live action hasn't portrayed this true scope of the world, at least in the past first season, or its potential for interesting character and inventive feats.
Tiger whales, ferociously.
It's simple, really.
Tiger whales.
When thinking of earthbending, what's more tough? One man clearing avalanches of rock? Or 5 dudes lifting one medium-sized boulder? All in all, Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender live action does add a different dimension to the original series. That is pretty cool to watch, even if many of times for nostalgic purposes. Yet the show also fails at retaining many narrative elements and key moments of character development, which made the original even more of an unforgettable show. Though it's still definitively worth watching and has many pros that may not completely counteract its cons, though still brings us back into the elemental world of Avatar. And with the release of the second season coming so soon, let's hope our main cast develops into the heroes we know that they can become.
I mean, that one was better than the one
It's so
before.
gross every single time.
What do you mean gross?
Yeah, I don't like the way my voice sounds saying it. I don't like how I have to say
Oh, I
it
thought
so
you were
many
saying I'm
times.
gross. I'm thinking,
I'll let pass. Mr. Dad's kind of cute.
And flesh out, Boomy, the audacity. So unless season 2 slams it out the park and fully flushes, you keep saying flush. What? This is flushed away.
Now you.
Mentor Mongatsu. God damn. God damn. You need to calm down. God damn. In our beloved animated series, and I'm
the Avatar.
I
ran away.
Don't feel like picking up my phone, so leave a message at the tone. I'm gonna kick my feet up, then stare at the fan. Turn the TV on, throw my head in my pants. Nobody's gonna tell me I can't. Yeah. I got the sheets on the floor, none on me. And I can't take it no more, it's 100 degrees. I got one foot out the door, where are my keys? Cause I gotta leave, yeah, in the back of the cab. I tip the driver ahead of time, give me the fast. I got your body on my mind, I want it bad. Ooh, just the thought of you gets me so... And then he fucking ruins it with the chorus, cause he can't write a chorus. Your hooks are trash!